Yo, yo, yo. Tom Ross TV. What's up, man? How you doing today, bro?
Man, I'm doing all right, man. Definitely here to separate the week from the. What's up?
Shoot, man. I know we got a lot to talk about. Obviously, with Charleston White, Hassan Campbell. Um, we both kind of been on the same path, similar paths as it relates to, our awakening of us coming into the understanding of being Black Hebrew Israelites. You longer than myself. Um, but nevertheless, it's still new. And it's just interesting that you got two powerhouses on YouTube. One's from the South in Charleston White, and then one's from up north in Hassan White, Hassan Campbell from the Bronx, basically acting typical like a typical New York nigga would act, and Charleston White acting like a conservative Southern nigga that he's acting. Basically, had a lot of disparaging and discouraging things to say about Kanye West and Kyrie Irving and their awakening and the mission that God has set up for them. So I really want to know your take on that and really like just kind of for us to just delve into it real quick and really get into the nitty-gritty, man. What's your feeling? What's your pulse? What's your vibe with all of this shit?
Yeah, so my vibe is um so anybody looking at the live right now, don't be confused by when you see Israel versus Kush because those guys, I don't know why they got it like that. The man on that side where it says Kush, that those are actual Israelites.
Exactly.
So and the ones on that where it says real not. So I guess it's backwards to try to confuse us. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
the black men, those are the actual Israelites. Those white men aren't.
Yep.
But but anyway, uh when it comes to Hassan Campbell and Charleston White, they're both the same. They're the same person, essentially. They're the same person, essentially. Um, Early childhood trauma, right? No man in the house.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a big there's a big apprehension to any male order, to any male structure. Both went to jail early in their life. Both went to jail for murder or attempt murders, right? So this goes to show you how much it's important have a man in a child's life in its formative years, early on. It's actually more important than it is late because you have guys like this. And granted, pathetic, right? Because like them, I had early trauma in my life. Believe it or not, Charleston White doesn't realize this. He had a very neglectful mother. He put his eye out, right? He climbed up into a washing machine and totally destroyed the lower half of his body. Where was his mother at? You know what I'm saying? Where was she at when all this was happening? Believe it or not, that had a profound effect on this man. Um, Hassan Campbell. I empathize with him. Why? Because I've been through sexual trauma. Where was his mother at when this was happening to him? So there's a lot of pain and a lot of things these guys should be getting therapy for, but they're using their platform for the therapy. Let's be honest. A lot of those things make people narcissists early on. So both of these guys are very strong, a very heavy laden narcissist. So anything that gets their attention, they're gonna attach their name to it. And they don't care how they
Facts.
do it. And typically they're gonna use a strong black man, they want him out as I oppose him, I'm stronger than him. So when they seen uh Dalton, the Hebrew Israelite brother who wrote Hebrews and Negroes, when they see him getting all this acclaim, time to attack. When they see the brothers from
Mm-hmm.
UIC marching, they're not marching just for Kyrie Irving. They're marching for black people everywhere, and for our God Yahweh. When they see them marching, oh, time to attack. These niggas getting attention. Let's see Kanye West. They've been this whole time. Both has been crying for celebrities to speak up. Have they not? He knows having
Yep.
these guys been crying for celebrities to speak up. Soon as they do,
Yep.
they attack them. Why? Because it's all about using that celebrities platform, that celebrities energy to garner themselves up.
Mm-hmm.
Little did they know this that they did just now is bigger than YouTube. What they did just now by directly opposing what God is doing, they've marked both of them. They marked themselves.
Exactly.
You have to watch what comes out of your mouth, what you think and what you say about
Yep.
people that God is using. God is obviously using these guys. What they don't understand is this: everyone God uses has their own personal battles. So you can't say, "Oh, you cannot expect them to be perfect."
Exactly.
So if any one of these brothers was to fall and do something that's uncharacteristic, Kyrie Irving now go back to what using them because look at him now. Do you see Kanye? He was drunk. Do you see Kyrie? Look at him. Look at us. We make mistakes every day. That don't mean God don't use us every day either. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So these guys
Yep.
right here, not knowingly, mark themselves by
Mm-hmm.
directing God's will, what God is trying to do, and directly opposing people who God is currently using just for clout. And you know what? They're so rebellious, and their hearts are hardened because of what they've been through. They're gonna keep doing it until they're judged. They're gonna keep
Yep.
doing it until they judge. People don't realize is the reason why their life was so super hard and it continues to be hard. It continues to go, is because they're rebellious,
Yep.
putting an eye out, damn near, damn near destroying every bone in your lower body. Rebellious, dude. Hassan Campbell in and out of jail his whole life. You know what I'm saying? Always in altercations with other black men, having to draw your weapon out in a city where you for the rest of your life. Rebellious. You don't want to live by God's laws, so you don't want nobody else to do it. Why
Yep.
would you speak against black thousands of black men in one place walking in unity? You want to know why? It goes against their narrative. Their narrative is niggas can't get along. Their narrative is niggas
Exactly.
ain't shit. I'm the best of the crop. All the niggas ain't shit. Y'all come listen to me. What I got to say.
And where
That's
does
been
that
their
come from? That
narrative. Black
ideology.
men ain't nothing. Da 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 da. This that and the third. So they had to from that white man. Then so
Mm-hmm.
they had to attack when they see 3,000, 5,000 black men in unity walking in the same direction. Nobody standing out in front of the other person trying to buck them and try to. They had to knock that because that diametrically opposes to what they do. They don't do nothing but sit behind a mic and talk. They'll do nothing but sit
Exactly.
behind the mic and talk. Charleston White came with 5,000 black men to march with him in unison, all on one accord. Hassan Campbell can't do it. They don't even like him in his city. They can't do that. They judges of that, so they talk about devil's work when they did that.
Mm-hmm.
These two dudes are in grave danger. They keep going down this path. In grave danger. Because God has sped up the process. If you haven't noticed, look at all this knowledge that just came out of nowhere in a span of a
Yep.
month. All this knowledge just came out of nowhere, and it's not just them. If you go on TikTok or YouTube, you never even thought about Hebrew. Now all these black people talking down against Hebrew, talking down against Hebrew Israelites,
Exactly.
not knowing they selling themselves, man.
Yep.
How you know something not the way and know so much about how to turn you just when you how you go from one extreme to another, from not even possibility. I hate hate the Hebrews, blah, blah, blah. We just black. We just want to be black.
Yep.
You went from saying, I hate the fact we don't have a heritage, I hate the fact we don't have a homeland, to now seeing niggas saying we got a heritage, we do have a homeland, and you saying we got a heritage as a homeland. How do that make sense? How do
Mm-hmm.
you go from one extreme to another? You want to know
Exactly.
why? Because we've been carefully crafted by certain YouTubers like this, by YouTubers who are bugged out of their mind, like Nature Boy and the other dude that's from Chicago who's an intelligent dude, but he just bugged out of his mind because he done read so many doctrines. We're so bugged out of our mind as a black community that hypocrisy is the norm. Going
Exactly.
back and forth from extreme to extreme is the norm. There's no being double minded is the norm. There's no steady on course pace. I'm here, I'm there. I'm here, I'm there, I'm everywhere. When you listen to these guys talk, they're everywhere. That's a sign. That's a sign that once they get worked up, that God is no longer using them everywhere. They could go from giving somebody props to talking about. They could go from shunning, talking about dead people, to doing it themselves. And I sat back and I observed both of these guys, man, because at their best, they both have something to give. I'll be a liar if I said Hassan Campbell hasn't been spinning gems on his channel, and I'll be a liar if I said Charleston White hasn't been spinning gems on their channel. But the gems are mixed with a lot of propaganda. The gems are mixed with a lot of narcissism, a lot of look at me, a lot of I don't care who I got to tear down as long as I'm looked as the top. That's not God work. God works with men who are. God works in humility. The other
And when
side
that
mixes
happens,
truth with lies.
when
That's why
that
there's some
happens, it
truth.
creates a half
That's
truths.
how.
It
That's why there's
creates a
some
half
truth.
truth a lie.
Yeah, that's what happens when the enemy has sent you the person for you to hear. You will hear some truth, and then you'll hear some negative propaganda, straight out, flat out lies. And the
Mm-hmm.
both of these guys do that. Why? Because they have not been sent. They have not been sent. They they talk about industry plants, but let's be honest, they're the industry plants. Let's be honest, man.
Yep.
Let's be honest. How think about it. How you go to jail for 3 attempt murders
Hmm.
in a city where the police is as only place on earth where ain't more corrupt than the police in New York is in Chicago, Illinois, and fucking Mexico, man.
Facts.
That's it. The police is corrupt as they could be in New York City. So you mean tell me they let you get away with 3 murders, but they ain't planting nothing on you?
Hmm.
You could just walk around freely. They ain't planting
Hmm.
nothing on you. They ain't attacking you every in Chicago. When you get away with so much crime, they make sure you go to jail for something you didn't do. They make
Mm-hmm.
sure of it. They find a way to get you in jail, even if they got to get. So you mean Hassan Campbell could say all the shit he be saying about all these niggas in Texas, but nothing will never happen to him? Who protected them?
Exactly.
Who protected them? You know what I'm saying?
Don't make sense.
How they get a pass? Nobody else. Black people don't get nobody else a pass. Everybody else get murdered. How they get a pass?
Hmm.
Right? You know what I'm saying? How they get a pass? Yeah. So somebody else gave the order. Hands off. These people really doing. They really doing the devil's bidding because what they do is they keep the black person in a state of confusion the whole time, and that's how you manipulate. That's witchcraft 101. Whenever somebody dealing with witchcraft, they always gonna go from one stream to another, playing on your emotions, right? They're gonna use emotions to manipulate you. Super upset. Both these guys have mastered it.
Mm-hmm.
And the majority of people are very easily controlled and easily led. So most people are carried away by charisma. They don't even stop to think about the logic of someone being able to go for super extremes back down to another extreme, to be able to tell so many truths and tell a whole bold-faced lie, to be able to present
Exactly.
one thing and do another thing simultaneously. And because most of us are raised so fucked up and we think our mothers act that way, we think that's natural, but that's a very these guys. The fact that if you disagree with them, they get so emotional and start getting ready to fight and cry. Men don't even talk that way. Men don't even call another man a bitch, no matter how upset they get. I've been around killers. They don't call each other bitches. Killers. They don't talk to each other that way. They emotions. These men are the pinnacle of as soon as something is said that Charleston White don't like, the first thing he get do is get tears in his eyes, be ready to cry, and throw insults, just like a woman. Hassan Campbell, soon as that's the narcissist. You can't correct no narcissist, man. The first thing they're going to do is attack you.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what this is all about.
Yep.
That's what this is all about. Charleston White, Hassan Campbell, is all about their own ego. They're not understanding is vanity, and their vanity done got them in some shit now. Because
Mm-hmm.
now God's putting out this information, and you standing in the way of what God's putting out. It would have been best for them to be quiet, man.
Exactly.
It would have been best for them to be quiet. Charles White, that conversation, he should have said no comment if he ain't had nothing good to say. Why would you
Exactly.
speak about all these men meeting up for one purpose, one goal peacefully? Why would you speak about that? I get, and I think I was watching the live stream. I think one of Hassan was asking him about the Hebrew shit he went in. If he ain't had nothing good to say, he should have been quiet. Cause y'all saying what they gonna do, why they not killing people? Why y'all not? If y'all feel so strongly about white people being dead, why y'all don't kill them? These men move by what the Lord say. Y'all do. Y'all both the killers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hassan Campbell, Charles White. Y'all both the killers. Why y'all not killing white people then?
Yep.
If y'all want them dead so bad, why the fuck y'all not doing it?
Just
These
popping the
people
gums, man.
already these people already on the hate. These people already on the FBI hate group list for nothing. Why would you put that on them? Y'all the ones who done threw y'all life away with felonies and murders and attempt murders. Y'all gonna do that. Y'all the ones who used to killing, especially Hassan Campbell. You done shot at your own people all your life. You go shoot at the enemy. You see how hypocritical it be? But if you caught up in a charisma, you gonna miss it all.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? What you gotta say about it, bro?
Man, actually, I have a lot to say. Um, the thing with what you just brought and you impacted with the narcissism and the element of the fact that these guys are mama's boys is what Queen Shahrazad Ali was talking about. I did a video, a little shorts on it, where I showed the analogy and basically the intermingling and the interwoven of how she was breaking down Terrence Crawford's personality, because he falls into the same shit as these guys, right? Mama's boys. And what she was saying is the tendency of mama's boys is because they didn't have an active father in the home, they grow up moody, they grow up bitchy. I love the fact that she used those terms. They grow up with feminine traits.
Right.
So these guys, when you see they act the way that they act, and I'm gonna add to it, since I am a former person in the mental health field, so I'm gonna add and amplify to what you talking about. When you say the narcissism part, you are hitting it 1,000% on the money. But women that are narcissists also deal with what's called histrionics, and histrionics is just basically uh up and down roller coaster crazed version of narcissism on steroids. These guys have that too. So you see that up and down element where they're on one end, they support the cause and they supposedly give you this half truth of they support what people are talking about, and then the other end they jump around and say, look at me, look at me. That's what you find a lot of women do with histrionics. This is what these guys, men boys, manginas, mama's boys do. They display histrionics type of behavior, which is an over glamorification or over
Right.
glamorizing variation of what narcissism is. And that's what they're displaying. Not only narcissistic traits, but histrionic traits as well too. But what they're also displaying is you see that they have psycho, disassociative disorders as well too, and psychoaffective disorders. These are guys that, like me and Ross, we actually go and see therapists and we actually go and get help. You know what I'm saying? Because we understand that as a man, you ain't got your shit all the way together. So we utilize our VA resources and we actually go and sit down and talk to people. Guys that had an active father in the home, guys that um basically had a father figure, a father role model, father personality that was active in the home, understand these things, that our mental health is crucial for us as men because we have so much shit that we're dealing with. But when you got two guys like this that act like their shit don't stink, but they always want to give you their opinion, their opinion, their opinion. Giving your opinion is a good thing when the time is necessitated to give your opinion. It's not always good to give your fucking opinion. Everybody don't want to hear what the fuck you got to say, especially if you're saying something that you have no idea or you have no knowledge of what you're talking about. LeBron James falls into the victim of this every time. Terrence Crawford falls into the victim. These two guys fall into the victim of this. They just want to talk for the sake of talking. They just want to be a soapbox. Another guy that falls a victim to this is Joe Budden. They just want to say shit. Even if they're not saying the right shit, they just want to say it for the sake of saying it. And your voice is not always lending credibility for you to say it. Ross has been, put on the shelf, but he ain't been put on the shelf because of YouTube, whatever. It's bigger than that. It's God. That's God's doing. Now he's back. Me, I won't speak on mine because that's between me and Ross. Ross knows it. In due timing, you guys will understand it. When I do feel necessary to tell you guys, I will tell you. But there's a period in time where you're supposed to talk, and there's a period of time where you're not supposed to talk. And when you're in tune with your masculinity and you're in tune with being what's called a true masculine person, you know that. That's why in the Bible it says, be slow to speak, quick to listen, quick to hear. But a lot of these dudes, they not slow to speak, man. They so quick to speak,
Right.
and they not trying to hear shit. And that's why they formulate these feminine type of, basically what you would say, you know how people jump to conclusion responses? They do that. They go into these jumping type of conclusion responses. And when they do that, they showcase the manifestation of what Charleston White is showcasing, what Hassan Campbell is showcasing. And let me correct Shay Jackson 834. I'm assuming this is a female with the name Shay. I'm hoping. Maybe you're a femboy. I don't know. But let me correct you real quick. When you say, Tank is a mama's boy, Tank had an active, you don't listen. It's like, see, this is the problem with people. They hear you, but they don't do active listening. I said active father in the home. Listen to the other key operative words: father role model, father personality. Calvin Hunter, his trainer, was an active father in the home because he trained Tank. If you notice, this is why Tank is
Dude,
strong.
dude is being used by. He's being used as a distraction to keep you off the
I
point.
know,
The
and I'm
fact
gonna
that
bring it right
he's
back into
talking
the.
about
I'm gonna
that
bring it right back into the
and not the
context. I
big
just want to
picture,
say this real
lets
quick.
you know that he's distracted.
Yeah, and I'm gonna bring it right back in, but I just wanted to correct because I feel like people don't understand why people are strong the way that they are. Tank is not a mama's boy. Tank loves his mother, but his trainer was his father. That's why you see Tank is strong. Because, and if you go listen to Tank's story, Tank has had that trainer in his life since he was what, 5 years old? So do the math. There's a difference between
Mm-hmm.
him and fucking Terrence Crawford. So I just wanted to correct you on that. And with a name of Shay, you may be a mama's boy because only a mama would name a son. Because you just said you're a guy with that fucking name. You might want to get your name changed because that's a feminized name, by the way. But, anyways, back to the context of what I'm talking about here. The bottom line is this: Hassan Campbell and Charleston White, when they don't know what the fuck they're talking about, they need to look at themselves in the mirror and they need to check themselves. And they won't do that. And the reason why they won't do that is because the mama's boy tendency is to always say, hey, look at me. I need attention. And that's the feminine trait that they have. I need attention. I need for people to see me. I need for people to hear me. I need for people to see what I'm talking about all the time. Even with what the fuck I'm talking about doesn't make sense. Now, switching gears and going into this other one, Hebrews to Negroes, because that was one that was really interesting on my end. Ron Dalton is the one that is the author of the book Hebrews to Negroes. And now he has supposedly this guy who's giving you this because he's wearing a fucking hat on his head, and this is how people think: because you wear a fucking hat on your head, that means you're Jewish. Fuck out of here. That means you Hebrew. Fuck out of here. I'll piss on the hat on your head and I will tell you that to your fucking face and see what you're going to do with it, and then drop you on your fucking head on top of that. You just because you got some bullshit on your head, that does not make you Jewish. Just because you got a bullshit on your head, that does not make you Hebrew. What makes you that is who was the real and true Hebrews. That's what makes you, and that's what defines that. If you guys do your homework, you do your research, you'll find out they look like me and they look like Tom Ross TV. They look like Charleston White. They look like Hassan Campbell. Even though they're lost sheep, there are brothers nevertheless. They look like Kanye West and they look like Kyrie Irving. They don't look like this fucktard. They don't look nothing like him. So when he put the image of Cush, what he's basically saying, if you know your Bible, you have the three sons of Noah. You have Japheth, you have Ham, and you have Shem. So saying Cush, because Cush falls from Ham's lineage, we know that Ham basically had to fall up on the Japheth because Ham became Japheth's servant. So with him using that thumbnail that he's using the way it is, he's using it is basically another way of basically indoctrinating slavery through a thumbnail. But you gotta be very
right.
You gotta be a deep thinker and you gotta be a three-dimensional thinker to see through the bullshit. Regular minded motherfucker
he's
is not
basically saying what your school book said. And here's one thing, but all black people listening to the sound and power of my voice need to hear. If your identity is still wrapped up in what you learned in school, you're indoctrinated.
Facts.
Because you have to ask yourself one thing: why was your slave master tell you when that discovery changes the whole dynamic between you and them? Why tell you who you really are? Something you ever at school was a lie about your identity. Outright was a lie. They have to lie to you because that's how they keep you enslaved. So if you're still holding on to being black and being a descendant from, that's because you was taught that in school and that was your first indoctrination, and it's hard to break. But you got to ask yourself, white man lied to me about everything else. Why would he tell the truth to this? Why would he tell the truth about this? And why is it I could be anything? You could be a woman if you want to. You could be with a man. You could, what I mean? You could self-hate. You could hate your own people. But as soon as you say, man, black people don't be called everything. And they don't call themselves everything. But the world never stopped the way it did until black people said, man, we Hebrew. Not black, because black and Hebrew, that's a double, that's overkill. Hebrew in itself means that you're melanated. So you don't have to say black Hebrew. As soon as you say you're a Hebrew, but there's difference between Hebrews, right? True Arabs are Hebrews, but they're not Hebrew Israelites. As soon as you say I'm a Hebrew Israelite, as soon as black men started accepting that worldwide and it became known, the whole world stopped. You got to ask yourself, It never stopped when black people called themselves anything else.
Hmm.
It never stopped ever.
And
Shay
it's a
Jackson, your
double
name is not important. Your
oxymoron.
name is not.
No, go ahead, Ross. My bad. I was
Hold up.
I was just amplifying your original
Your
point.
name is
But go
not.
ahead, finish what you
Appreciate it, bro. Your name is
saying.
not more important than this message, man. You're being very, very selfish. You're being very childish and very feminine. This message is a lot bigger than your name and what you got to say, bro. If you're not talking about what we talking about, just sit and listen. Try not to be a distraction. You're being a child now, man. You know what I'm saying? Me personally, this is my life. I've been timed you out.
It's funny, Ross.
All right,
Um,
bro.
it's funny, Ross, when you said that with the timeout. I'm realizing that indifference, me and you, we're gonna attract a difference. And the reason why we're gonna attract indifference is because we are so masculine and so basically what you would say the definition of what a man is. So me and you are naturally gonna attract that. And I'm gonna say this, and that's just for me and my walk. But there was a period of time for the longest, I would just time the person out. You know what I'm saying? And I would be like, okay, my double dragons brother told me to do this, I'm gonna do it. But I kid you not, man. The other day I was having a moment with Yeshua. Y'all know him as Jesus. And he was like, people gonna be negative with you regardless. Your level of maturity is gonna grow when you can just be able to see it and don't even bat an eye at it. Just kind of brush it off. I didn't understand what he meant when he said that. I just kept praying because us part of the Levi tribe. That's our job. We gotta be praying, right? Interceding. So I went hard into praying. I was like, "You're gonna have to tell me what you meant by that." And he was like, "You got to get to that point where you could just completely just brush it off." That's what I did when I was walking this earth. That's what I did. I just brushed everything off. I'm not saying you're gonna be me, but I want to get you to that place where you can get so mature spiritually to where when you see something, you just brush it off. And that's the place I'm at now, man. This motherfucker want to put some shit up. Well, guess what he's doing for me and you, Ross? He's giving us airway because there's other motherfuckers that's gonna be thinking like him, and it's only gonna be showcasing the difference between me, you, and them. And it's gonna show to the people that are listening in what the difference between what is the standard of what people should be aligning themselves to in terms of truthful thought and the message that me and you are basically putting out versus their trollisms, their haterisms, and their nonsense. They're gonna keep doing that. Just like with your book, they're gonna keep doing that shit. It is what it is. I'm at that point. I just darted off like nothing. Now, if you coming after me and you say you're gonna kill me or then that's something different. But he's just wanting to basically explain himself. And that's what mama's boys do. And now we're bringing it back to Charleston White and Hassan Campbell. That's why you see that when they attack Kyrie Irving, they attack Kanye West. It's the original point of what you made, bringing the attention back to themselves, right? And trying to basically say, hey, you guys forgot about us. We have YouTube channels here. We want you guys to put the attention on what we have to say. We want you to put the attention on our opinion. When in actuality, that should have been a moment to say, you know what? Since God is giving Kyrie Irving and Kanye West the lead, let's follow. See, this is the problem people have. Me and Ross, we never had that problem with each other. Even when we had our two falling out moments, and I really don't call them fallout moments. It's just we just two alphas going at it, two true alphas going at it, two alpha of alphas going at it, right? When the thing is when someone has the lead, the other person is supposed to follow. It's like with John the Baptist and Yeshua, right? John the Baptist and Yeshua could not operate together in their ministries at the same time. Why? Because John the Baptist had disciples. Yeshua had disciples. If you remember, after John the Baptist baptized Yeshua, he said he had to prepare the way for him. So then he turned around and said, I must decrease in order for you to increase. When someone is increasing, the other one's supposed to decrease. So when Ross is in a zone and he's talking about a message that makes sense, it is my job to decrease and to basically let you guys take the message in. The reason being for that is so that I don't have the feminine Hassan Campbell trait. I don't have the Charleston White feminine trait of saying, well, look at me. I need to get my point across too. So I need to say something. No, because whatever God is using Ross to say in that moment is what God wants to be said through his lens. And we as a people, we as Hebrew Israelites, we got to get to that place. When the mantle is for that particular chosen person, we got to follow the lead. Right now, God has given the mantle to Kanye West and Kyrie Irving. Follow the fucking lead and get the fuck out the way. Because if you don't do that, you going to have to be dealing
Right.
with God at the same time, too.
Or
I said what I said, bro. You good? You
or
good?
yeah, because they don't believe, I don't expect them to do that. But what they can do is sit back and not interrupt unity, right? Yeah, I say y'all
Mm-hmm.
care so much about black people coming together, but as soon as you see them coming together, you attack it. So what do y'all really care about? They care about themselves. Me personally, I
Mm-hmm.
always tell people you have to understand that God used people as messengers, and it's not about the person. If Kanye did tomorrow, that does not take away from what God was able to use him to do and what God used Kyrie to do. Right? That don't take. Because think about this: the whole ultimate goal is to get the real truth of the Bible out there. They've already done that, no matter what. So now the powers damage, they may force these guys to do certain character or attack them more. They may unfortunately make them meet their demise. That don't mean God wasn't using them because what God set out for them to do has been done. This book, never mind the documentary, the book men who have acknowledged that black people are not African and that we've been lying to them and that they're actually the Hebrews. They don't know it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
A lot of reason why I use white men because a lot of black people don't think knowledge is official unless it has a white stamp. That's why I said that. This isn't just black people coming over here just talking. This is scholars hundreds of years ago admitting this,
Facts.
right? Hundreds of years ago admitting that the real natives, the real Latino, the real whether it be Haiti or whether it be Dominican Republic or Puerto Rico, that those were Hebrews also. There's documents, there's relics, there's statues with Hebrew language on them, thousands of years old. So them speaking about something they don't know is nefarious because both of these guys are highly intelligent. They know what's right. They have logic. That's the reason why they're able to lead. They're able to lead so many different guys. They have logic. They're ignoring that logic for the sake of being relevant. Because they rose to the top of
Exactly.
YouTube by being contrary to was the lie, by being contrary to everything. That's the reason why they're so hypocritical. Because the topic of the day to them is to go against everything that was popular. And then they try to fit it all together to make a message, and they're great at doing it. But the topic of the day is just to
Mm-hmm.
against everything that's popular, everything on the trending, everything that's on Twitter trending. When they go live, it's to go against everything, and sometimes going against themselves because the last time they was on live, they were for it. Like think about it. Every time it's hot and cold. The next time they go on live, they'll be for Kyrie and they'll be for Kanye, and then they'll be against them. And then you know what I'm saying? So because their thing is just going against whatever the popular norm. When everybody was attacking Kanye and Kyrie, they was for them. Soon as
Mm-hmm.
they start coming on the other side of it and people start agreeing with them, they're against them because everybody agreeing with them. These people don't have no message. It's all about them.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about them because they're true diametrically opposed to themselves and even what they say. In the midst of them talking, if you're paying attention, they contradict themselves in the same sitting. Every interview, Charleston White would contradict himself. Every interview, Hassan Campbell would contradict himself. On one hand, he'll get on niggas making music about killing each other, and then he'll get on niggas making music about loving hip hop. How you do that?
Exactly.
How do you get entertained by that? Because the people who are entertained by Charleston White are weaker than them. How are you not seeing
Mm-hmm.
this as learn from and something to disavow? How are you seeing this and being entertained?
Mm-hmm.
You're just as weak or weaker than the people you're entertained by. A lot of the women who watch Love and Hip Hop get on Facebook and talk about the characters. They not realize they're worse than the characters. Sit and you watch that. These people
Exactly.
getting paid. These people getting paid to mislead you. You sit and you think it's entertainment, not knowing you are a part of the circus. You're less than them.
Mm-hmm.
You're less than them. If you're not watching that shit, seeing how and coming away with damn, okay, this how they trying to use us against each other, and coming away with shit that you could then bring back to the village and say, okay, the hip hop got this going on. They basically saying this what they trying to lead our girls to do. If you actually laughing and being entertained by Love and Hip Hop, you actually laughing and being entertained by these niggas and not seeing where their angle really is for the moment, because you're only human, you might not know. For the moment that you're entertained, you're just as worse off than them, if not worse, because you don't even know that
Mm-hmm.
they sit here just to keep you distracted.
Mm-hmm.
Why do I know they keep you to be? See, they don't have a linear message. It's always back and forth, and it's always garbage what's popular and just going against the grain of what's popular, not necessarily against the grain of what's false.
Facts.
If they were just going against the powers that be, I could honor it. But in one sentence, they'll say, "Man, white people ain't never did nothing, but causes harm." And immediately after, it's like they think about they think about this in their algorithm, and they say, "Yeah, but I got white friends, and I love white people." It's either these people enslaved your people, and they just systematically been killing you for thousands of years, or you can't be both.
Exactly. One or the other.
You can't be both.
Mm-hmm.
'Cause let me be perfectly clear to you. Clear to you. I got white people in my family. That's changed the fact you can't be both, because in a race war, is that family real family? In a race war, is your white friend really your friend?
Mm-hmm.
You think he gonna choose you over his people? If they look at him like, bro, we'll kill your family if you don't do what you gotta do. You think he gonna choose you over them people, man? You
Mm-hmm.
ain't got no white friends, man. Because if you had white friends, they will stand up and they will make sure you had the rights you're supposed to have. If we really had white friends, we don't have to worry about police shooting us. Because they wouldn't sleep, they wouldn't rest with the power they have. They would change it overnight if we really had white allies. We don't got white friends. We have people who want to listen to how we move, learn our lingo, assimilate, and take it over. That's what you have in their DNA. That's what they're doing, whether they know it or not. They learn how to talk to you. They learn how to dress like you. They learn how to talk like you. They
Mm-hmm.
own the hip hop. They own the dance moves. You none the wiser because they keep doing it over and over. Because we so simple. As soon as we meet, a white person who do anything like a black person. Man, you see how he wears fitted? He cool, man. Man, he know all the dance. He know how to do the Dougie. Unless you know he on TikTok making millions of dollars doing the Dougie.
Yep.
Then took over what you created. And you none the wiser because you think you got an ally. No, you dealing with a spy who did reconnaissance, who did psychological warfare on you, and has already won the war before. Y'all don't study war. Y'all never been. This is the reason why I believe Charleston White said one thing that was true. If you're an anchor that have nothing else going for you, then you should go to the military and learn war tactics.
Exactly.
So you could bring back that knowledge back to your people. You should go to the military. Because the reason why I could see this shit naturally and the average black man can't, because I went to the Navy, I understand. I actually have it's a naval degree. I actually have a naval degree from the Naval War College about war tactics. And the first level of war is not physical. It's propaganda. It's
Mm-hmm.
psychological warfare. There's economical warfare. All that's done before it gets physical.
Exactly.
The physical is a manifestation of everything you've been doing. So when white warfare come up and he trying to talk like you, trying to dress like you, trying to do everything you like himself with you, so that he could then control you.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody sitting right next to you, if you not psychologizing what they doing, they could control you. All they gotta do is mimic what you do. Subtly. You do something, they do it. And next you know, you think y'all linked, but y'all not linked. They psychologically playing you. Y'all need to
Yep.
know these things, man. Before you start saying we got allies, we got these people ones that they not your allies. You see what happened to the Black Panther movement as soon as they started taking taking advice from the white liberals, it went up in smoke.
Exactly.
You see what happened to Dr. King, you know? He ain't had nothing but white people around him. You see what happened to
Mm-hmm.
him? And people might be like, well, what about Malcolm X? Malcolm X wasn't the problem. Elijah Muhammad was around him. But every time we allow them into our thing becomes their thing. Go ahead, bro.
Man, you on fire right now, man. Um, my thing is this. I think that the biggest issue with all of this is, once again, it's revealing. It's kind of like the stiff necked Israelites, right? They kept wandering in the desert over and over again. God had them wandering for 40 years. Why? He had to kill off that generation. A generation, 40 is a huge number because 40 doesn't also mean trials and tribulation, but it basically means a generation. And he basically had them cycle all around and circle around for 40 years so that that generation can die off, that mindset can die off, that ideology can die off, because that ideology and that mindset can't go into no promised land with it being filled with doubt, with it being filled with like just the old, I want to cling to the slave master's way of thinking, et cetera, et cetera. Well, here's the thing, these people still had genetic code line that passed down from genre to genre. The thinking did still, and to some degree, intermingled and got into the promised land, right? And we have that ideology till today. So the biggest thing is when you see folks, right, and you see the way that they think and you see the way that they're moving, you always have to ask yourself, what was their upbringing like? This stuff is important because it goes back to the initial
Right.
inception of what you talked about. If they don't have an active male figure in their lives early on, it is very, how can I say it? It can be a situation that's going to be a doom for failure for that man when he grows up, because he is going to get pimped out. He's going to get pimped out by every woman in his life. He's going to get pimped out. LeBron James has gotten pimped out by his own mom, pimped out by Savannah. You see it. Just pay attention to the situation. When you look at Terrence Crawford, pimped out by his woman, pimped out by his sister, pimped out by his mom, and he has those tendencies. When you look at what's his name? We can go even deeper. When you look at Hassan Campbell, you look at Charleston White. What you see is guys that are walking manginas that are a cry for help. This is a terminology that I've said, and I will continue to say it. A walking mangina, cry for help. This is what was bred today. When you hear all of this stuff about women have all this masculine energy and why are women so messed up or whatever, it's not the women, it's the men. If the men were like men and the standard of men were there, you wouldn't have women with fucking masculine energy, because guess what? You'd have too many men being actual men. So how would women have room to have masculine energy if the men were being fucking men in this society? Let's keep it a buck. But the reason why it's like that is because there's a lot of men that are not men. Either they're LG Transformers more than me, Steve eyes. You know, you can't say the term on YouTube. They flag you for it, but you know what I mean. Basically a rainbow coalition color. Either they died or they don't know what they are, or they're Transformers more than me, Steve. They don't know what the fuck they are, right? So this is what we're dealing with. We're dealing with that. And then we're dealing with mama's boys. Mama's boys make up, unfortunately, 90-something% of men today. In our black community, shit, it makes up damn near 98%. We're being honest with ourselves. And the reason for that is because of, you know, the whole World War II. Well, it started in World War I, but in World War II, it became like really rampant, right? They used government assistance and food stamps and all that. I mean, you've talked about this. So I feel like it's a perfect opportunity to re-ingratiate it. They've used these things as a mechanism to help, you know, white women, because they figured there'd be widows or whatever, to help them because their men wouldn't be around to take care of them. But you know what happened when these men came back from war? In both instances, both in World War I and World War II, these white women came in because they understand the ideology of what it means to use something, but only use it when they need to use it. And they would go back in and refile and say, well, we no longer need this anymore because our husbands came back. So we don't no longer want to be on assistance. See, they understood that. You fuck around and give it to, you know, black people, and you tell black people, the way that you sell it to them is, well, you know, the only way you're going to get this is he can't be in the home. The man cannot be in the home. This is the only way you're going to get it. When they sold it to the white widow, they sold it off the strength of he's going to war, meaning there's a high probability he's going to die and he may not come back. So we're giving you this as a way to help supplement you and your family, which makes sense, right? But with them, it wasn't sold that way. The way it was sold was, you cannot have a man in the home. Why did they sell it that way? It's to break the black family dynamic, to break the black family, because they don't want that. Because you got to understand, to not have the black family in the home, to not have the black demographic in the home, is to take away the most powerful demographic the world has ever seen. Because in the world, that is the original demographic: a black man and a black woman, Adam, Eve. So you don't want that ideology. You see, when you take away that, what you're taking away is the ideology of the simple fact that you're taking away the original man and the way the original man thinks. And anytime someone has to say they're a mama's boy, but they're a king in the jungle, that's a mangina cry for help. Because if you are a king in the jungle, you don't need to tell us you're a king in the jungle. We just need to know you're a king in the jungle based on your actions. You see, this is what mama's boys do. They cry out for help to always show to you, pump their chest. It's like Terrence Crawford. The ultimate flex is to show you, I got money, I got this, I got that, but y'all ain't got this, y'all ain't got that. LeBron James, when he lost in 2011 against the Dallas Mavericks, mama's boys tendencies, right? Instead of owning up and saying, you know what, man, I'm LeBron James, I'm supposed to be the chosen one, man. I didn't show up. I was the frozen one. That's what a man would have said. See, if Kobe would have been called the chosen one, Kobe would have said, man, you know what? Don't give me that title. I was the frozen one in that moment. Jordan would have said the same shit. But you know what? It ain't going to happen again. You know what he did? He said, fuck y'all. Y'all got to go back and live y'all miserable lives. And I'm going to live my good life. And I'm going to do me. And I'm going to chill. Blah, 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 blah. That's the mama's boy's tendency. And you don't see it. The reason why you can't see it as a mama's boy is because you have literally your penis has turned into a mangina. It's a walking man fucking gina. And the problem is you don't even know that you have a mangina. You look down there and you see a penis, but you don't even realize when a woman looks at you, she sees a mangina. She sees an opportunity. Why do you think most of these women, they go after you mama's boys? Because they know they can finesse you. They know they can manipulate you because they know you have basically been manipulated and you've been finessed by your mom, meaning you've been manipulated and finessed by a woman. So since you've been manipulated and finessed by a woman, they are a woman, so they can manipulate and finesse you too. See, I'm giving you mama's boys a little game, but y'all ain't know that. Y'all probably wondering how every time I keep running through these relationships, women keep doing me up. It's because once these women can see that you are clingy to your mom and your mama's, man, I'm gonna have this motherfucker around my finger. If one woman already had him around his finger, shit, I'm a woman too. I'm gonna have him around my fucking finger. But if you notice, when they dealing with a dude that has a upbringing of having an active father in the home, father role model, father personality, father figure, they can't fuck with that motherfucker. They can't fuck with him because the foundation, the structure is too strong. It's a rock solid foundation. And if the situation ends up not working out and she goes, she's not leaving because she's leaving you. She's leaving because of the fact that, damn, I couldn't deal with this motherfucker. I couldn't control this motherfucker. So fuck him. I need to go somewhere where I can control. You see, that's the ideology. So when you see Hassan Campbell, you see Charleston White, you see these types of individuals, the LeBron James, the Terrence Crawfords, these types of individuals in the world, the reason why you see they're constantly giving out their opinions is because they have what's called identity crisis. They're men, right? They look like men. They're giving you a similitude of men, but they actually have manginas. And they don't even understand how to identify with being a man, even though they look like a man, because guess what? They're missing the key ingredient of being a man. They didn't have a man in the home to teach them what being a man is like. So now what they do is they say, hey, pay attention to me. Pay attention to what I have to say. Pay attention to my story. Pay attention to me. Look at me. Instead of, you know what? Shit. Kanye West is onto something. He's actually bucking the system. Do you guys realize how prevalent, how crucial Kanye West has put himself on the line by him basically saying, oh shit, Jay-Z and Beyonce, he said that out of his own mouth. They're devil worshippers. They sacrifice people. That's basically saying I'm putting my head on the line to get my head chopped off. When he said they sacrificed my mom, these are things that came out this motherfucker's mouth. When Kanye West turned around and said, I ain't Diddy, I ain't Jay-Z, I ain't Beyonce, I ain't Shaq, I ain't LeBron James. They can't fucking control me. But you know why they can't control Kanye West? Think about it. They cannot control Kanye West because Kanye West had his father in his life. Don't get that shit twisted. Kanye West is not no mama's boy. He loves his mother. His mother has had a crucial role in his life, but he is not a mama's boy, not by any stretch of the fucking imagination. So he can say that. Of course, you see my debate. Anyone that's smart, anyone that understands What I'm saying, and it's not a debate, it's actually truth. Mama's boys and men that had active father in the home, there's a huge difference. There's a gulf between them. And you know how you could tell the gulf? You could see the differentiation listening to me and Tom Ross as opposed to listening to Charleston White and Hassan Campbell. I'm gonna even tell you, even in the monotone of the voice, Mama's boys have feminine octaves in their voice. Ross know what I'm talking about. When you're around a woman long enough, you're gonna sound a bit raspy in your fucking voice. When you have no choice but to be around a man all the time, you're buzzing testosterone. So what does that make you? It makes you a walking, buzzing testosterone yourself. But when you're around estrogen all the time and you basically protrude estrogen, guess what happens? You are going to protrude estrogen too. And don't take my word for it just off of me just talking, because it could be hyperbole. Let's talk about it from a cellular standpoint. Let's talk about it from a DNA and a biological standpoint. Because anybody that's been following me knows that I'm a health person. Men have what's called testosterone and they have what's called estrogen in their biological structure. Fact check me if I'm wrong, Tom Ross. Am I wrong that men don't have both testosterone and estrogen? Okay. Ross is away. They have both testosterone and estrogen. The difference between men and women is women have more estrogen in their system, way more, and that's what identifies them as women. And they have a very small amount of testosterone. The opposite nature of men. Men have a lot of testosterone. They have a small amount of estrogen. Do you know the difference between women that operate in masculine energy and men that operate in feminine energy? Women that operate in masculine energy, they are basically distributing the testosterone, the small amount of testosterone in their system, and they're tapping into that. So now they have even more testosterone in their system. That's why you see a lot of these women that have masculine energy, they start growing facial hairs, they start growing hair on their chest, they start growing all kinds of weird shit. They start having mustaches and shit like that. By you know, the thing with biology will teach you a lot of shit. And then you start seeing men that operate in feminine energy. What you're going to start seeing is they get very raspy in their voice. They get very feminine like tendencies. They get very bitchy. They get very moody because they're basically operating more into that estrogen that's in their biological structure. So we as men have to be careful to make sure that most of the testosterone in our system is pushing out the way it's pushing out, and our estrogen levels remain low. This is why, as a man, you're supposed to be working out. You ain't supposed to be walking around with fucking titties and shit. You're supposed to look like a fucking man. You're supposed to, you know what I'm saying, act like a fucking man. And you're supposed to be around other men that can make you like a man. And as a woman, you can't be sitting there taking fucking, what they call that shit. You can't be sitting there taking testosterone. You can't be taking HGH and all this shit. This shit fucks you up. So I say all of that to say this. Hassan Campbell and Charleston White, every time they talk, every time they showcase a soundbite where they're speaking against masculine men like Kanye West, masculine men like Kyrie Irving, they're only basically feeding into their estrogen-filled natures. They're feeding into their mama's boys' natures. And this is something that can easily be found because guess what? They both are mama's boys. So they have to look for fucking attention. So this is the problem that we're dealing with. This is the systemic issue that we're dealing with. And this is why we have a rampant causation of women taking over men like never before seen in this world. And the reason for that is because you have a lot of men, they don't act like men. And then they go on their little soapbox and then they basically create communities. A lot of these red pill guys are just guys that they're not red pill. They just
Okay, I'm back.
okay. I'm glad you're there. A lot of these red pill guys, they're really not red pill. A lot of them are just projecting a lot of the bullshit that has happened to them. And instead of them growing from it, they're just constantly projecting because to grow is to be like the way me and Ross is. We understand the positives and the negatives and everything. There's positives in women. Women are not hoes and sluts and all of this shit like people portray them to be. Women are actually loyal. They are created to be loyal creatures to men. Yes, I'm saying something that might sound a bit weird to a lot of dudes, but me and Ross is not weird to us because we understand things at an advanced level. They are created to be loyal. The thing is you just have to be the right kind of guy for them to be loyal to you. And the way that they'll be loyal to you is by you showcasing what's called masculinity. Go ask any woman what's the number one thing that gets them attracted to a guy. Shit, you can go on a match.com and you'll see it. I want a man to be a man. That shit sounds so taboo. It sounds so like, how should I say the word? It sounds so simple on the surface, but it's so complex and it's so layered, and there's so much peeling of the layers of the onion behind it. What she's basically saying is, I'm a woman. I need to be a fucking woman. And when I'm with a man, I need him to be a fucking man. That means in the way you comport yourself, in your decision making, the way you carry yourself, the way you unction yourself, the way you make decisions, the way you carry yourself, and more importantly, the way that you protect, provide, and care for her. By you doing these things, you're showcasing who you are, a man. But you know how you learn this stuff? You know where the foundation of all this shit comes from? It comes from having an active father in the home, father role model, father personality, father figure. You need another motherfucker that was like that prior to you, that you can have an example to see and can guide you. If you don't have that, then you're going to grow up, unfortunately, like Charleston White. You're going to grow up, unfortunately, like Hassan Campbell. You're going to grow up, unfortunately, like Terrence Crawford. You're going to grow up, unfortunately, like LeBron James. You think these guys naturally want to have hatred in their bones for other men? No, I don't think that. I don't think they go out of their way to just basically be haters. But because they're mama's boy, it's naturally in their DNA to do that. Because that's all they fucking know. And that's why you see the attack on Charleston White, the attack on Hassan Campbell against Kyrie Irving and Kanye West. It's not an attack on them because they're personally attacking Kanye West and Kyrie Irving. I don't think it's that deep. It's just the fact that because these guys are mama's boys and because the attention is not being swayed their way, they got to find something negative about these guys so that they can basically bring the attention their way. That's what it's about.
Right. But this time they really messed up because the rest of the time it was trivial shit, and sometimes they'll be right. Both Charleston White and Hassan Campbell got points in. The black community always getting up in arms about rappers dying and not caring about children. That's a great point. But this time against guys moving in the land. You know what I'm saying? This time they are opposing. Little they know their attempt to get more views and followers and be more famous. They are now jeopardizing their standing by seeing black men coming into their heritage, their knowledge, their strength as Hebrews, and standing against those brothers. They have done a hell of a thing against their own. A hell of a thing. That's what I'm telling people. Don't be surprised if things go south for both of them. Don't be surprised. Look at everybody who look at this. Look what's going on with Kanye, Balenciaga. They losing. Back in the day, nobody would have cared if they would have dropped a borderline pedo. Now we're talking about it and disassociating themselves with Balenciaga.
Yep.
Adidas losing $245 million this month. Nobody's messing with Adidas. Black people gonna turn all the way. Listen, man. The Brooklyn Nets gonna have to pay Kyrie over $100 million for all the games they made him sit out over the vax.
Yeah, because they
Well,
broke the
God's
state
using
of New York.
somebody.
They broke the state of New York and the city of Brooklyn. And you were right when you say God is using somebody, because God is using a labor force person who came out and said that Kanye West has a lawsuit against the Brooklyn Nets that he can exercise at any given point because they shouldn't have sat him out.
Kyrie Irving. Yeah.
Yeah, Kyrie Irving.
Yeah, Kyrie Irving got a lawsuit. And that's the thing right there. So a lot of people now, they're going to use the fact that Kyrie Irving is being pressured to backtrack and try to make it seem like that's something negative toward the Hebrew Israelites, man. Throughout our whole history, we have had people to backtrack or to get scared and to do that. That don't mean there was any less Hebrew. That doesn't mean they were scared. This society, black men, to be largely scared of the system. Largely, everybody can't stand tall all the way through. But my judgment, I'm not going to judge him at the stand at all. He could have folded like Charles Barkley. He could have folded like Shannon Sharp. He ain't had to stand at all. But his one moment that he stood up, he posted link, has changed the lives for millions. And that's what he was used for. That's what he did. That's the thing. We have become way too judgmental on these celebrities and not more what's the word I'm looking for? Observative. You can always have your critiques, but don't lose yourself in the critique. Don't feel into too, you know what I'm saying? Don't use yourself in the critique. I don't expect these guys to all of a sudden live like they perfect. I expect Kyrie and Kanye West to be perfect. I expect them to make some mistakes along the way because I make mistakes along. We have been raised to be basically black white people. We raised to think white. We raised to celebrate white, to congregate like we white people, to have picnics, Thanksgiving feasts, celebrate Christmas. We've been raised to be black white people, so we're gonna stumble along the way in this Hebrew Israelite walk. We're gonna stumble. So I'm not gonna judge them when they stumble. Only thing about them is sad is when they stumble, it's for the world to see. But people don't see when we stumble behind closed doors. So I'm gonna keep my mouth off the people who God has used. But these fools, right? Hassan Campbell and Charleston White, I gotta speak on it because somehow, some way, I hope they hope they listen to this. Hope they hear. They're old enough to be my big brothers. So this is coming from respect. I've had some respect to both of them, and they out of pocket, and they might want to listen to this because warning comes before destruction. You want to warn before destruction comes, man. You are warned, and this is a couple of times now. Both of these guys, they have used Hebrew Israelites. You can tell they listen to Hebrew Israelites because they have used their points, and then they have gone on to say they use their talking points because nobody was making these talking points. I've been following YouTube for a long time. The only one that was taking Bible and comparing it to modern day what's going on was the Hebrew Israelites. It wasn't no Muslims. It wasn't nobody else doing it.
Exactly.
Now you guys are taking their talking points, but you taking their talking points, but they deny the God and His people. You playing with fire when you do that. Playing with big fire when you do that, because there's a chunk of our people who, just like back when we was in Egypt, want to eat Egypt. A chunk of our people don't want we don't want a free America. We don't want no place where we have to do everything. We want salute, bro. Rip you crazy. Rippy Brazy is the number one guy when it comes to this. When it comes to this chat, he the one that always
Exactly.
donate. He the one that always comes with something to say.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? He the one that he the one that put his money where his mouth is. You know what I'm saying? A lot of guys talk about when it comes to real unadulterated knowledge, they soak up the knowledge, then they go somewhere else and support the niggas that entertain them. You could go to the zoo if you want to see some monkeys, man.
Exactly.
And if it's a city funded zoo, you don't got to pay no money. Lincoln Park Zoo in Chicago is free. You can go to the zoo for free, man. You know, you want to be entertained, you know what I'm saying? You go to the zoo for free. You know what I
Exactly.
mean? I ain't no motherfucking monkey. I ain't gonna say entertain you. You definitely gonna
Hmm.
you might laugh here and there, but you definitely gonna get some knowledge. But at the end of the day, when it comes to this right here, mark my words, if these course correct, it's gonna be something to pay. It's gonna be something to pay. It's gonna be a price to pay if they don't course correct. Cause the knowledge, this type of knowledge, has came out like a fire hose, man,
Hmm.
and it's not gonna stop. And everybody who gets in the way of it is gonna be moved out of the way. Point blank. Period.
Yep. You're right. And I'm glad you said
You know
that
what I'm saying?
because the biggest thing, bro, is we live in a world, and that's where you see when this guy is supposedly saying Hebrews to Negroes are debunked. You have to understand the terminology Negroes, the terminology black, that is not a terminology that God used for his chosen people. That's not a terminology for us. We're Hebrews. That's what we are. When I use the term black and I use the term Negro, it's an oxymoron term because I understand the systemic and the racial and the prejudice underlines of what the terminology is all about. And I just use that shit right back against these fucking slave traders, these slave masters, so to speak. Because when you say a black man is Hebrew and you say a Negro is Hebrew, it really offends the spirit and the soul of these fake Jews, and it really offends and it really upturns the spirit and the soul of people that have come in and taken it and tried to adopt your identity. Because the Bible is very clear when it says that Noah's son Japheth, his lineage, are dwelling in the tents of Shem, are dwelling in the tents of his brother. And you guys need to go and get a Zondervan compact Bible dictionary. And the reason why I say that is because it tells you in there's a particular part of it that tells you that Ham, and see, he tried to say Cush is fake, but the Zondervan corrects this idiot, right? Because in the Zondervan it says that Ham is the progenitor. That's one of Noah's son. He's the progenitor of all the black races minus the Negroes. Very key, minus Negroes. We know Japheth's lineage, based on Noah's son, was the lineage of Caucasian descent. So, what lineage would the Negroes have to be if they're not under Ham and they're not under Japheth? There's only three sons. Do the math. That means they would be up under Shem. Why is that important?
Right.
Because with Shem births Shemites. With Shemites born Semitic people. Semitic people born what? Hebrews. You could trace this, and it shows it for you.
Yeah, so Semitic Hebrew Arabs, on some Ethiopians, but in a subgroup behind that, you got Hebrew Israelites, which is different from all of them,
Hmm.
because Ethiopians, that's one thing. Um, the Ishmaelites, that's the Arabs, but the Israelites,
Yep.
that's us.
Yep.
Totally different thing. Totally
Yep.
different thing.
Yep.
They have a they have a pantheon of gods. We have one. We're the only one that have
Hmm.
one. The Muslims didn't get one until Muhammad went and started copying things that we did. That's the reason why a lot of things they do is similar to what we do. He wrote the Bible based off what Hebrews do. But
Yep.
before that, they had 360 guys the Arabs did. 360.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And back then it was a 360-day calendar, not 365. So these motherfuckers had a guy for every day, man.
Mm-hmm.
Every day of the year they had a god. You know what I'm saying? A whole
Mm-hmm.
pantheon
Mm-hmm.
of them. And that's
Mm-hmm.
every nation. We the only nation who have believed in this one God. One God. It is not until people came in contact with us till they made a supreme God and
Yep.
one God. That's
Yep.
Greeks, that's Egyptians. It wasn't until they took us into captivity that you know what they do. They mix their thing with our thing, which makes it a fake thing. That's where you get the Roman Catholic Church from. That's where you get Christianity from. The Bible is
Yep.
the Bible. Christianity is a pervertedness of the Bible. Not how it's interpreted.
Facts.
But how it's interpreted. The same Bible that people say, "Oh, the Bible was used to reading that Bible." Well, how can he was reading it the way you supposed to read it? So
Mm-hmm.
that is debunked. Oh, the Bible. No, the interpretation, what they told you, because you had lost your heritage, and it was changed. You couldn't read the language, so they had to tell you what it meant, so you was able to learn how to read for yourself. The interpretation is what convoluted the minds. But once
Mm-hmm.
Matt Turner was reading the Bible for himself, he came to the conclusion like, man, we're Hebrews and we're not supposed to be in bondage.
Exactly.
And he started killing white folks off the same
Mm-hmm.
Bible. You know what I'm saying? So it's not the book, really. And the thing is, they keep what they're doing now is witchcraft. Whenever
Yep.
whenever a woman puts some witchcraft on you and it's starting to wear off, she gonna do another spell.
Yep.
And all the spells ain't them sitting down cutting the head off of fucking chicken and all the spells ain't like that. Some of the spells are just coercion. Some of them are psychological warfare. Some of them is manipulation. But they're gonna do it.
Mm-hmm.
So now they see it wearing off. What they got now? They got prominent black people saying, "Nah, we not the Hebrews. We just black. Or we African. Or we this or we that." Reprogram you to go back to when the first time you heard you was African. When you was a little kid, probably fourth or fifth grade in history, social studies. Reprogramming you because they see you waking up. So that's what Charleston White's being do. That's what Hassan Campbell being controlled to do. It's either to say we ain't
Exactly.
the Hebrews, or to say Hassan Campbell said all the time, like, yeah, we the chosen people, but their doctrine is wrong. How would you know that? You said you didn't even read no books coming up, and you ain't started reading books till you went to prison, and you just read the Quran. So how would you know these people doctrines messed up when every black dude you see on these streets preaching, saying that we the Hebrews, and you might, oh, they dress funny, they weird. Do you know them brothers don't do nothing but sit and read all day and to make sure what they say line up with historical history? These college credit for the how much research they done did, they will be master scholars, doctorates.
Mm-hmm.
When
Mm-hmm.
you get the book Hebrews, I ain't even gonna promote my book. When you get the book Hebrews and Needs and foremost, then you can start working with my book. When you get that book, the dude's not just using the Bible, he's using the Bible when he's backing it up with interviews that's saying the same thing. It can't be refuted. That's the reason why they want to take it off Amazon, because it can't be refuted.
Facts.
That's the reason why nobody wants to debate this man on live TV. Because what he's saying can't be refuted. And it's not him. He's not so brilliant. It's the guy who moves within him to bring it all out.
Exactly.
You see what I'm saying?
Exactly. I
You
see
see what
exactly
I'm
what you're
saying?
saying.
So this truth can't be withheld. This truth can't be held back, no matter who. All they gonna do is put themselves in the straight direct fire of eternal hellfire, doing what they doing. All Hassan Campbell's doing by talking, all Charleston White is doing is putting a target on himself. Because now people
Mhm.
are looking. They're looking at these guys united. Most black people ain't never in their lifetime seen that many black men in one place, all on one accord. Did you want to come out and you want to talk against them? All black people gonna sit back and do it. Look, and I'm saying black because that's how the average person refer to themselves as either black, Haitian, or either whatever the white man called them, right?
Mhm.
So that's why I'm saying these terms. But whenever people of color see you, all you do is keep a strife between black men, and you're talking now on black men who came together. They're gonna start looking at you. Their fan base, if they keep doing this, their fan base is gonna start looking at them. Like, hold on,
Well,
man.
that's what's
You
happening. They're
saying this,
gonna
but where's your
not
proof
only they
that we
looking
ain't
at them,
Hebrews?
they're
You
gonna
saying this,
not only they're gonna look at them, bro. They're gonna turn against them. They're gonna start turning against them because God's not playing. Because your earlier point that you said that went over a lot of people's heads, God is moving in an exponential way. He's moving very fast. Um, it's been a long time since God um has moved like this fast in terms of just having everything come out in pace like this, where it's multiplicity of transactions taking place. God does this in seasons. It's not something that he's always doing. But in this season, there's multiplicity of spiritual things that are now being manifested in the natural that's happening. And you see it. And these guys, they need to be very, very careful
mm-hmm.
because they're gonna fall up under God's judgment, man, if they're not careful. So that's pretty much the gist of
For
what I
sure,
gotta say. But I just wanted to say that because
definitely,
it's just amplifying the original point of what you said. Because the biggest thing is for
definitely for
people
sure.
to understand, and hopefully, us getting the message to these brothers, because we don't got nothing against these brothers. I don't. Ross doesn't. This is more like when you love your brother, the Bible says you chastise them. So this is a loving chastisement more than anything. Like, hey, wake the hell up, because if you guys don't wake up and you speak against God's move, I'm sorry to say you gonna have to deal with the ramifications of God's judgment. And honestly, God's judgment
Right,
can mean
right.
God's judgment could be as cruel and as cold-hearted and as unadulterated and cutthroat as taking you off this earth. That's what it could mean too. Don't Let's not get this thing twisted. We seen God kill off
Right.
the stiff-necked
And,
Israelites in the desert because they wouldn't listen. So God could take you out too now. Let's not get
right.
this thing twisted.
And then it's not just them. They just like the more famous ones. There's
Mm-hmm.
everyday regular people who got like channels or don't get channels, but in their walk just gang saying just gang and just talking against something they don't understand. You still got black people who think we're Egyptians. Like we were enslaved by the Egyptians, man. Those people
Mm-hmm.
are African. We not. It's the reason why you have no heritage to them. Okay, you from Egypt. What part of Egypt are you from? You know what I'm
Yep.
saying? Like you you still got people who think you still have people who reaching out. They reaching out. It's like we're the same people. It's like we're doing the same thing we've been doing. We get we get subjugated by people, and we continue to latch on to what we learned when we was in that land. You know what I'm saying? Like
Facts.
all these black, like if all these black people realize that who are so called Buddhists and Hindus, if they knew that we were enslaved over there, them people had us in slavery. How much? How many of them will still remain Buddhists and Hindu? How many of these black
Mm-hmm.
people Arabs, if they knew that black people were enslaved by Arabs, and that's how they became
Mm-hmm.
Muslim?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm
Great fucking
saying?
point. Great fucking point, man.
How many of these Puerto Ricans really knew how they became Catholics? How that was put on them? That's put on them through subjugation. White
Yep.
man came over there and said, "Your ass gonna be Catholic or you gonna die."
Mm-hmm.
Who is this Yahweh y'all talking about? Like, no,
Mm-hmm.
your God is white because
Yep.
we white.
Yep.
If people knew their history, they know a lot come from the actual habits and the actual culture of the slave master, all the way back to Egypt, Babylonian, Persian, Greek, Roman, now American captivity. All these things you do have come from the subjugation of your slave master. Christmas, Thanksgiving, New Year's Eve, Easter, all this shit that you participate in now is the shit you've been participating back in the day in your former lives due to captivity. That's why it's so easy for you to participate in Easter now because the Babylonians had you participate in Easter back then. Christmas, why? Because the Romans had you participate in Christmas back then, Saturnalia.
Yep.
You keep doing the same mistakes over and over. That God been telling you over and over again. Come out of her. Be separate. Don't do what they do. Don't talk how they talk. Don't move how they move. Been saying it, but you still have our
Mm-hmm.
people still holding on to Babylonian customs, Egyptian,
Mm-hmm.
Buddhist, Hindu, Arab customs. Every custom but the one
And it's
God
not easy
gave them.
because
As
they
soon as somebody comes
indoctrinate
out and
them.
say, "Man,
They
Hebrew and this Bible is ours," and this how we all of a sudden that's wrong. Notice
mm-hmm.
Charleston White, Hassan Campbell. They're not talking about. They ain't talking about no Hindus. They ain't talking about no Buddhists. They ain't talking about no Catholics. They making sure to talk about the Hebrews right now because the Hebrews is in the spotlight.
Mm-hmm.
That's all
Yeah,
I got.
the white folks is all, and I'm gonna say this last point, then we're gonna go. These same white folks saw the power of God that we had, the God that we serve, the Almighty God that we serve, and they were like, "Hold up, man, we shoot, mm, we gonna need some of that too." So that's why they stole the and took, and adopted a lot of the, you know, principles that they wanted to adopt. The ones that they don't too much care for, they just took it out and was like, nah, that doesn't apply to us. We're gonna use what applies to us, and we're gonna make it in our own way. We're gonna make it in our own kind of book, so to speak, so that we can basically indoctrinate people, i.e., Western Christianity, and we're gonna create this cult, and we're gonna basically enslave people into this cult. And that's what happened. And this is why you have a lot of black people that they're even rebelling against their own Hebrew Israelite nature because they've been told this is the way that you're supposed to look at it from a from a Western Christianity standpoint, a cult standpoint. So they even now attack Hebrew Israelites. Was like, man, y'all just y'all talking foolishness. It was because of a guy that got an awakening back in the 50s. Who's to say that what he's saying is true? How do you know God really spoke through him? Blah 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 blah. This is what it's all about, making you guys hold on to Babylon, because that's what, when Revelation talks about Babylon, it's talking about an ideology. It's talking about a paganist way of thinking. And Babylon did have its moment where it was paganism, right? In the Old Testament and all of that. But that's that in its literal sense. But in a figurative sense, it's the ideology of that over and over and over again, manifested from genre to genre, holding on to those things. Because if you hold on to those things, you won't have the mindset to want to go into the right things that God is trying to take you into. So it keeps you into what's called a spiritual delusion. And that's what's happening. So that's why you see they fighting against their own nature, their own awakening. The greatest thing that you could get as a Hebrew Israelite is coming into the realization that you are that. Eventually, Ross is right. And I think that was the most profound thing he said offline between the both of us, but we need to say that publicly and people need to hear it. Is we're going to get to a point where we start identifying ourselves as only Hebrews. We're not calling ourselves Negroes. We're not calling ourselves Black. We're not calling ourselves none of that. But that's going to be that advance and that more higher state of awakening, right? When we finally start saying that to each other, fellow Hebrews, fellow Israelites, like fellow tribesmen. We're going to get to that place, but it's a process. And the last thing that I want to say with this is just be mindful that before all of the change happens and the revolution takes place, there's going to be a genocide and there's going to be a great delusion that's going to also take place too. So those that are awakening and getting wiser, there's also going to be that element of people that's going to get dumber. There's no such thing as being stagnant. Either you're getting wiser or you're getting dumber. So you're going to have a group of people that's going to get dumber, or you're going to have a group of people that's going to get wiser. Either way, it's running one direction or another. And that's that. And that's all I have to say on this, man. Ross, once again, God put on your heart for us to do this. I'm glad, I was obedient to just say, hey, man, let's do it. Because at the end of the day, this is what it's about, man. Really tapping into our fellow brothers and sisters' souls and getting them to see what they need to see, and for God to use our vessels, even though it's not perfect, to use our vessels to get these people to wake up. And if we're able to impact, even if it's just one person, the mission is accomplished, man. And that's the biggest thing for me. That's what I get more joy out of than anything. Just more and more people coming into their awakening, and more important people coming to the truth. Because let me tell you something, the end of days are closer than the beginning of time. And me and Ross have said this in the last live, and we're going to hear us keep saying it more and more. The dispensation of grace is over. It is over. God is moving. So y'all better wake up and either be aligned with the move, or get or put yourself in position to where God basically exterminates you within the move. So either align yourself with that move or get exterminated in that motherfucker. And that's all I got to say, man. Ross, once again, it was real. Yeah, I know you got a tip. You be safe out there, and I know you gotta go do your thing. Those that listen in, appreciate it. Rick B. Brazy, once again, thank you for stepping up. Ross already gave you flowers, but I'm gonna give you the flowers too for donating. Anyone that has been touched by what we had to say, donate to fucking motivate, man, because this is the stuff that we on. We on this type of shit. It's been real. Y'all be easy. Peace.